Deep breaths. And as you're taking these nice deep breaths, bring your awareness to your breath and your body. And notice how you're feeling as you're taking these breaths. And notice how much movement is happening in your body as you're taking these breaths. And bring your awareness to your neck and shoulders. And just notice how they're feeling today. Are you feeling any pain or tension? Do your shoulder blades feel even on the floor? Does one side feel heavier or lighter than the other? And then bring your awareness down to your mid-back and your rib cage. And as you take this next breath, notice how you're feeling in the middle of your back and your rib cage. And then moving down to your low back and your hips. Noticing how your low back is feeling today. Notice how your hips are feeling. And just taking mental note of any places that you're feeling any pain or tension. And bring your awareness down through your hips to your legs, to your knees, your calves, your ankles, and your feet. And then when you're ready, we're going to go into our flatten and release exercise. So you're going to bend your knees and bring your feet to standing flat on the floor. And keeping your arms just relaxed beside you. We're going to start with our exhale and flatten. So we're going to inhale to get to an exhale. And as you begin to exhale, flattening your back to the floor by bringing your pubic bone and ribs towards each other, tightening your tummy muscles, holding tight for just a moment. And then inhale as you slowly, with control, begin to release in your abdominals. Slow and smooth, releasing in your belly. And at the very end of that release, we're going to go right into a tilt. As you inhale, you're going to roll your tailbone forward and down to the floor, just gently arching your low back up off of the floor, holding for just a moment. And then exhale as you slowly begin to release the contraction in your back and your hips. Slowly letting your back soften down towards the floor. And at the end of that release, going right into flatten again. Exhaling, flattening your back to the floor, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other, tightening your tummy muscles, holding for just a second. And nice and slow, begin to release in your belly, as slow and smooth as you can. And at the end of this release, you're going to go into tilt again. Inhaling and rolling your tailbone forward and down. And now let's also roll our arms open so that your palms are facing up to the ceiling. And just gently pressing your shoulder blades into the floor. Holding now for just a second. And slowly begin to release. Slowly letting your pelvis and your back float back down towards the floor as you slowly begin to roll your palms back down to palms down to the floor. And then going right into flatten again, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other, tightening your tummy muscles, and now rolling your arms inwards towards your body. So you're doing a little bit of a squeeze in your chest and your tummy. Slowly begin to release, slow and smooth, releasing in your tummy muscles, releasing in your chest, as slow and smooth as you can. And at the end of that release, going into tilt again, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor, rolling your arms open so that your palms are facing up to the ceiling, holding for just a moment, and slowly begin to release. Slowly softening your back towards the floor, slowly rolling your hands back over to palms down. And at the end of that release, going into flatten one more time, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other and rolling your arms inwards towards your body. Holding for just a moment, and nice and slow, begin to release. As slow and smooth as you can. At the end of that release, take a moment to rest. Good, the next exercise we're going to do, actually we're going to loosen up our necks a little bit first. So let's have everybody do, I think you both have done this one before, where we're going to lift our face straight up to the ceiling. Remember, you don't have to lift your head very high. It only needs to lift at the most like an inch off of the floor. So lifting your face straight upwards, lifting your head straight up off your mat, holding for a moment, and now nice and slow and smooth. Let your head come back down to the floor as slow as you can. And once your head is resting back down on the floor, take a moment to rest. And then this next movement, I'm going to have you turn your head just slightly to the right. And now same thing as you're going to lift your head straight up off of the floor again. Again, remember, it doesn't have to lift high, just an inch up off of the floor at the most. Hold for a moment and then slowly begin to lower your head. Slow and smooth. Once your head is resting on the floor, then slowly turning your head back to center. And rest for a moment. And then we're going to do that same one to the other side. Turning your head slightly to the left. Hi, Ron. And then lifting your head straight up again, only an inch at the most, holding for a moment, and slowly begin to lower your head. Slow and smooth. And when your head is resting back down on the floor, and slowly turning your head back to center. And then we're going to do one more, lifting our face straight up to the ceiling or the sky again. So lifting your face straight up, holding for a moment, then slow and smooth, bringing your head back down, slowly with control. And then making sure to rest once your head is resting on the floor. Good. Next movement we're going to do is for our trunk or for our obliques. So I'm going to have you roll onto your, let's roll onto our right side first. So you're going to roll onto your right side, and your knees will be going straight out from your hips and your feet straight down from your knees. So as if you were sitting on a chair, if it was laying on its side. Your bottom arm will be resting underneath of your head, and your top arm can either lay in front of your body or you can bring it up over your head to help with this next movement, which is our armpit to hip. So for this next exercise, you're going to be rolling your top leg forward. Your knees will stay together, and you're going to roll that top leg forward so that your top foot comes off of your bottom foot. And it doesn't need to lift high. It only needs to come up maybe a foot at the most. At the same time, now you're going to lift your head and your chest and think of bringing your left armpit and your left hip towards each other. You'll feel this gentle squeeze in your side. Then slowly with control, begin to lower your foot and slowly lower your head and your chest at the same time. Really paying attention to that slow release of the movement. When everything is back down, take a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one again. Lifting your top foot by rolling your left thigh forward, your knees stay together, lifting your head and chest, drawing your left armpit and your left hip towards each other. This gentle squeeze in your side. And slowly with control, begin to lower, slowly relaxing the hip as you lower your foot, slowly lowering your head and chest. And when everything is back down to the floor, take a moment to rest. We'll repeat that one more time. Rolling your left thigh forward, lifting your top foot, lifting head and chest, drawing your armpit and your hip towards each other, gentle squeeze in your side. Slowly with control, begin to lower your head and your foot, releasing the hip as slow and smooth as you can. And when everything is back down to the floor, take a moment to rest. And before we roll to the other side, we're actually going to go onto our bellies in the middle. So you're going to roll onto your belly now. And you're going to have both hands up now so that your forehead is resting on the back of both hands. And we're going to do a peekaboo exercise in between our armpit to hip. So when you're ready, you're going to lift your head and your eyes upwards, leaving your hands and your elbows on the floor. So lifting head and eyes, gazing upwards, holding for a moment, and then nice and slow, you're going to begin to lower your head and your eyes, slowly together, slowly and smoothly lowering your head and your eyes at the same pace. And when your forehead is resting on the back of your hands, take a moment to rest. And we're going to repeat that one, only this time we're going to add in a small leg lift with our right leg. So again, lifting head and eyes, and now at the same time lengthening and lifting your right leg just a little bit, holding for a moment, and then nice and slow, lower your leg and your head and your eyes all together, moving as slowly and smoothly as you can. When everything is back down to the floor, taking a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one again, only this time we'll be lifting the left leg. So lifting your head and your eyes, lengthening and lifting now the left leg, holding for just a moment, and then nice and slow, lowering your head and your eyes and your leg as slowly and smoothly as you can. And make sure to rest when everything is back down to the floor. This time, both of your legs are going to stay on the floor as you just lift your head and your eyes again. So lifting head and eyes, gazing upwards, and then nice and slow and smooth, lowering your head and your eyes together. And when your head is resting on your hands, take a moment to rest. And this time you're going to leave your head and your hands on the floor. You're going to be lifting just your elbows this time. So lifting your elbows, gently squeezing your shoulder blades together behind you, holding for a moment. And now nice and slow and controlled, begin to lower those elbows, taking your time, moving as slowly and smoothly as you can. And when your elbows are resting on the ground, make sure you take a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one more time. Lifting the elbows again, hands and head stay on the floor. The elbows lift, gently squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you. And then nice and slow and smooth, lowering your elbows as slowly as you can. With as much control as you can. And when your elbows have reached the floor, taking a moment to rest. We're going to do one more peekaboo, but this time I would like you to only lift your head half as high as you did the rest of the times. So your hands and your elbows will stay on the floor, lifting just your head and eyes, but remember to only go half as far this time. And then slowly, with control, lowering your head and your eyes back down to the floor. And when your head is resting, back on your hands, take a moment to rest. And then we're going to be turning on to your left side. Your knees will be straight out from your hips, your feet straight below your knees, as if you were sitting on a chair on your side. Your bottom arm resting underneath of your head. Your top arm can either lay in front of you or it can go up over your head. I usually like to do this one with an exhale, so let's do an inhale to get to an exhale. As you begin to exhale, roll your top leg forward, keeping the knees together, drawing your armpit and your hip towards each other. Holding for just a moment, and then nice and slow, begin to release, slowly lowering your head, slowly lowering your leg, slowly with control, releasing in your obliques, releasing your hip, When everything is back down, taking a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one again, starting with an inhale again to get to the exhale. And exhale, rolling that top leg forward, drawing your armpit and hip towards each other, holding for a moment. Now nice and slow and smooth, really paying attention to any of those places where either the speed of the release changes. You may notice it being sort of a bump or a glitch in the movement. And you may notice that you've already been able to smooth it out compared to the first one you did. Take a moment to rest. And we'll repeat that one again. Starting again with an inhale. And exhale, rolling the top leg forward, drawing your armpit and hip towards each other, gently squeezing in your side. And then slowly with control, lowering your head, slowly lowering your foot, as slow and smooth as you can. And when everything is back down to the floor, taking a moment to rest. And then we're going to turn onto our backs again. So when you're ready, turning onto your back, your knees will be bent with your feet standing flat on the floor. And now we're going to do a elbow to opposite knee. So you're going to leave your left arm long beside you. Bring your right arm up behind your head if you can do this comfortably. If not, you can rest your hand on your forehead or your shoulder, or you can do it with your arms laying beside you. So this movement starts with our inhale and arch. So inhaling, rolling the tailbone forward and down to the floor, pressing the shoulder blades, drawing them towards your tailbone, tilting your head back and turn it slightly to the right. So you're looking just slightly to that right elbow. Now as you begin to exhale, slowly release the contraction in your back and hips, slowly releasing in your shoulders, slowly releasing in your neck. At the very end of that release, you're going to go right into flatten, bringing your pubic bone and ribs towards each other as you flatten your back to the floor, then lifting your head and your elbow and bringing your right elbow and your left knee towards each other. Holding for just a moment, and then nice and slow, begin to lower your head and your leg, as slow and smooth as you can. And when your head is resting, slowly letting your elbow open, making sure you take a moment to rest before we repeat that one again. Starting again with your inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down, pressing your shoulder blade. This time think of drawing that right shoulder blade towards your left hip, tilting your head and turning slightly to the right. Slowly begin to release now, slowly releasing in your hips, in your back, in your shoulder, your neck. And going right into flatten again at the end of that release, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other, lifting your head and chest and bringing your right elbow and your left knee towards each other. Holding for a moment and then slowly with control begin to lower your head and chest, your leg and foot, slowly moving slowly at the same time. And once your head is back down to the floor, then slowly letting the elbow open. Good. When you finish that one, we're going to switch to the other side. So you'll be bringing your left hand up behind your head. Your right arm will be long beside your body. And we'll start again with an inhale and arch. So inhale, rolling the tailbone forward and down, pressing the shoulder blades, drawing them down, tilting your head back and turning slightly to the left this time. Exhale now as you slowly begin to release the contraction in your back, slowly releasing in your hips, in your neck, slow and smooth as you can. And at the end of that release, going right into flatten, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other, Lifting your head and chest now, bringing that left elbow and your right knee towards each other. Holding for a moment, and then nice and slow, begin to release, slowly lowering your head, slowly lowering your foot, as slow and smooth as you can. When your head is resting, slowly letting your elbow open. Make sure you take a moment to rest. We'll repeat that one again. Inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor, pressing your shoulder blade down. And this time think of drawing the left shoulder blade towards your right hip. Turning your head slightly to the left, tipping it back, holding for a moment. Exhale now as you slowly begin to release the contraction in your hips, in your back, slowly releasing in your neck and your shoulders, as slow and smooth as you can. And going right into flatten, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other, and now lifting your head and chest and bringing your left elbow and your right knee towards each other. Holding for a moment, and nice and slow, begin to lower your head and your foot, releasing in your abdominal muscles, lowering as slowly as you can. And when your head is resting on the floor, then slowly letting your elbow open. When you finish that one, make sure you're taking a moment to rest. And we're going to be finishing today with a full arch and curl, so you'll be bringing both of your hands up behind your head now. If that's comfortable for you to do, remember we're always wanting to stay in our comfort zone. So if you're more comfortable with your arms laying beside you, then please leave them there. Start again with an inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor, pressing your shoulder blades down, drawing them towards your tailbone, tilting your head back, holding for just a moment, and then exhale as you slowly begin to release the contraction in your neck, slowly releasing in your shoulders, slowly releasing in your hips and your back. And at the very end of that release, going right into flatten, bringing your pubic bone and ribs towards each other, flattening your back to the floor, bring your elbows together, and gently lift your head and chest into a curled position. Hold for just a moment, and nice and slow, you're going to lower your head back down to the floor, releasing with control in your abdominal muscles, slowly and smoothly. Once your head is resting on the floor, then slowly letting your elbows open. Make sure you take a moment to rest. And we're going to repeat that one more time. Inhale and arch, rolling your tailbone forward and down to the floor, pressing your shoulder blades down, drawing them towards your tailbone, tilting your head back, and letting your jaw open softly. Hold for just a moment. Exhale now as you slowly, with control, begin to release the contraction in your neck, in your shoulders, your back and your hips. Slowly letting your low back soften down towards the floor. The very end of that release, you're going to go right into flatten, bringing pubic bone and ribs towards each other, flattening your back to the floor, bring your elbows together, and gently lift your head and chest into that curled position. Hold for a moment, and then nice and slow as you can, begin to release in your tummy as you slowly lower your head and your shoulders back down to the floor. Once your head is resting on the floor, then slowly let your elbows open up. And when you finish that one, make sure you take a moment to rest. And when you're ready and without rushing, you're going to go back into your body scan position that you were in at the beginning of class. So if your legs were long, you're going to lay them long again. And starting again with some nice deep breaths. And bringing your awareness to your neck and shoulders. And noticing how your neck and shoulders feel now compared to how they felt at the beginning of class today. And bringing your awareness to your mid back and your rib cage. And as you take this next breath, noticing how you feel now compared to the beginning of class. And notice how much movement is happening within your torso as you're taking this breath now compared to at the beginning of class. And now bringing your awareness to your low back and your hips. Noticing how your low back feels. Do you feel less tension? Do you notice if one side of your hips feel heavier or lighter than the other? And now moving through your hips, down through your legs, your knees, to your calves, your ankles, your feet and your toes. I'm just taking a few more nice deep breaths and really enjoying this quiet moment and hopefully this very relaxing moment in your day. And when you're ready, you can roll to your side and come up to sitting. And we have just a couple minutes left for some questions and feedback.